Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy, and we're going to get the cards out for the story, and then we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives, depending on kind of the maturity level of the different people in their Libra energy, because we all have our shadow nature, which can be fear, insecurity, pride, ego, lust, greed, laziness, self-indulgence, lack of self-discipline, self-indulgence, etc. And some people have learned more lessons in life about those things and have kind of grown up and matured themselves to not indulge those to a degree that they could have at one point in time. And some people haven't. So they are going to be harnessing this energy differently than some other people. So let's go see. Oh, that's kind of funny. At the end of it, we have the ring card, which is Taurus energy, which can have to do with our philosophy of life. And of course, some people, though, could be dealing with a Taurus, but more so it would depend, regardless of what zodiac sign people are and what zodiac sign they're dealing with, in their philosophy of life, with the courthouse, which has the scales of justice on it, which is Libra energy. Oh, and Libra and Taurus together make up the Empress. So the Empress can talk about what we want to give birth to next, like emotionally, what we want to manifest in the world. And if in our Libra Taurus philosophy of life, we're either more about ourselves, more about the world, more about things we indulge in, that's how we view life. That's what we think is just and fair. That is our truth and our philosophy of life. And the people who are more about that will probably keep taking action towards manifesting those things or investing in those things because at this point in time, that is their truth. Other people, high vibe Libra Taurus in a high vibe energy and high vibe Empress is being more balanced within yourself. High vibe Libra is about being more balanced within yourself. That, yes, I have my worldly philosophy of life in my Taurus nature, but I also have my high vibe Taurus and Libra philosophy of life that's about truth and love and justice and fairness, and that to adhere to a higher truth and justice, because otherwise we can just make it about, well, I think it's just and fair, it's just and fair, and people could do whatever the hell they want to do in the world and say, I think that's just and fair, or make it more conforming to the world. And if other people are in your friend group or family group or something are doing something and those people think it's just and fair, that's shadowy Taurus, where you can more conform to the world. And high vibe people, kind of listen to their emotional, intuitive nature that says, this is wrong. This isn't just and fair. High vibe Taurus is not acting with character and integrity. But the people who might be more swayed to fit in to a degree and conform to the world might keep doing those things. And some other people won't, And there too, we think it's just and fair to keep kind of expanding and learning lessons in life? Because at any point in time in our life, our Taurus nature is like the Supreme Court in our own head. We've kind of debated these things within us, whether we're kind of consciously aware of it or not. And whatever we have decided, yep, I think that's okay. Yep, I think that's just and fair. That Taurus dictates the decisions that we make within ourselves. And if we don't learn lessons along the way, you could have people that are like 55 to 85 years old and they still have the emotional maturity level of maybe like a 15 to 25-year-old, and they're still acting in certain ways and treating other people in certain ways because they never kept learning lessons in their life and taking those life experiences and being inspired to kind of keep growing and maturing themselves and incorporating those things into how they make decisions moving forward. And so they kind of keep doing the same thing over and over. And that's kind of shadowy energy too, continuing to do the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. High vibe energy is seeing the truth of it, seeing where you might need to change and heal and grow and mature yourself, where some of the people you're involved with might need to heal and grow and mature yourself, and then the truth sets you free to go get the justice you deserve. So we start out, though, with a card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the expectation card. So I'm kind of viewing the expectation card now as kind of like a 2 or 3 of Wands and Aries energy. And that's kind of interesting because Aries and Libra are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel. And so we in our fire sign nature might be really kind of caught up in some things, and we're not that balanced, but yet, of course, regardless of what we're caught up in and motivated and inspired by, that we are sure is the answer, it kind of keeps us tipped out of balance. So some people right now emotionally are more, because the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel, they're more fired up to repeat an old pattern. Whatever has been driving and motivating them is still what drives and motivates them. And they might, and that's shadowy energy, is kind of being tipped out of balance. They're not more balanced, but shadowy energy is also kind of not seeing the truth, staying in denial of the truth. Just like if you think back in your life, at every stage of life we've ever lived our life at, and regardless of how reckless or immature or wild and crazy we were, we thought it was just and fair. And it, but we could have had a lot of lessons to learn, but we didn't know it yet. And that could be with some people. They're got some lessons to learn they don't know. Now, other people could always hope that other people could heal and grow and mature themselves, wanting to be in friendships and relationships and workplaces. Taurus can kind of represent all those things that are more just and fair. But then we have the direction and the clouds card, and the clouds kind of make me think of Pisces energy, which is our emotional nature and the dreams that we have and what we would find emotionally fulfilling. But the card says Gemini, and Gemini talks about our dualistic free will nature. And, we can always wish that other people would heal or grow and mature themselves, but if they don't seem to kind of be inspired in their Gemini dualistic nature to maybe stand up for themselves. The main male card also kind of reminds me of Aries energy, but it also reminds me of Taurus. Taurus is represented by the bull, and what is Aries energy? The ram. So because this card has horns on it, it kind of makes me think of both Aries and Taurus. Again, what motivates and inspires us? We can all have people in our life, friends, family members, coworkers, neighbors, that we could all like to get along with them. And we could all like for things to be more just and fair. And for some of those people, maybe to be in a more involved relationship with them. But, there does come a time where we need to stand up for our truth. Gemini, like Libra, is air sign energy, and here we have the snowflake, which is Aquarius energy, the third air sign. And Aquarius can also, like Pisces and Aries, of this dream that we would like to manifest. And again, we were talking over here that Libra and Taurus make up the Empress energy. My truth, someone could say, is that I have this dream. I'm going this way. That's my truth. That's what I think is just and fair. That's how I view life. And the other people, if other people aren't taking action or communicating with you to Taurus is earth sign energy about putting in work and effort. And we have the long road here, which I view as Virgo energy. If people aren't putting in work and effort to work together with you to bring that dream into reality and manifest that same thing, we kind of have to accept the truth. And Virgo can also talk about what our long-term goals are and what our truth is. It's kind of letting go of some of the dreams that we had. We can always have a dream, but the other people have their own dream. And if that's not their truth, if it was their truth, they would probably invest in it and work together to manifest that dream into reality. If that was their idea of the type of friendship, relationship, workplace environment, or whatever that they wanted to manifest. But if that would require some people to listen more to their intuition, the direction card kind of reminds me of Sagittarius energy, which is about higher learning and education. Virgo energy and high vibe is about doing this inner work to work through, to see kind of the things that manipulate us. And then Pisces is connecting in with our emotions and our intuition. If people were motivated and inspired to maybe have more hope and faith and belief in themselves, in others, in love, in Aquarius and Gemini energy, if that was their truth, that is kind of the type of person they would be. But some people, that's not their truth. Aries energy, viewing these two cards as like Aries energy, anyone, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they are, male or female, people can be a little bit more or a lot more about being about them. Or again, more about having a certain status or image in the world, or things they want to indulge in, live their life a certain way. That's their idea of the dream life. Some people aren't. I view high vibe fire sign as being curious. Some people are just naturally curious people. I know I am. you know, just so learning things is just so, there's just so many amazing things to learn about in the world, so it's wonderful that we now have cell phones, and it's like having a library at our fingertips, and anything we want to research or look into, we can learn all about it, and some people lack that curiosity, and it's like some people could be like, why? you know, let's just focus on these things that we want to make our life about. Why would I concern myself being about other things for some people? And some people are just more about themselves, and that's their truth. And that, in a more shadowy Aquarius energy that they could harness, they want to be the star of the show. They make themselves the most important person in any relationship they're in to a shadowy degree, where it should be more about them, and they could be a little full of themselves. And they think that if other people don't invest in them, well, their dreams aren't going to come into reality, because they're the ones who make it what it is. And some people have already dealt with some people like that. And they realized their dream couldn't come into reality with those people. And that those people they could feel are caught up in the illusion of themselves, caught up and manipulated really a lot by these things of the world that they make important in their life, or their own self-importance, or some people too, a shadowy Aries energy could be that anyone can harness, kind of bossy and controlling, and kind of think that's just and fair. And then if some of those type of people get in a relationship, and maybe by worldly standards it looks very victorious and successful, again, Aquarius energy, looking like a star in the world, Libra and Taurus together in the Empress can be that it could have a certain status or image or stability to it. It looks like you have justice in the world. So whether you're at a job and you have a supervisor, or the whole culture of the workplace, or a friendship group, or a romantic relationship where people think people should not want to get out of this situation because this looks like we got it going on. And then, they can always be looking for, it's kind of like you're either a good leader in the world or you're kind of a bad leader in the world. And everybody has their viewpoint in life and how they live their life. And everybody can be looking for new people to agree with them, because we all kind of like to hang out with people who live life the way we live it. And they think they seem very victorious and successful in some way, or charming or attractive or something. And of course, for some of them, it's just all up in their own head and they're kind of on the narcissistic tinge. And other people really have that more hopeful believing spirit and are more inspired in their fire sign energy and their Libra energy. They're more balanced. All the fire signs are on the opposite side of the zodiac wheel from the air signs, and other people have had more life experience, maybe, of getting caught up in certain things of the world that they went indulged in or made their life about. And they've already seen through the illusion and realized those things aren't the answer. And if I make those things too important, or if I was more shadowy or self-involved or full of myself, other people who I'd like to be in a relationship with aren't going to be in a relationship. So some people learn those lessons, from the age 5 and on, gradually over and over throughout their life. And some people aren't invested more in the world, or being full of themselves, or being more bossy or controlling, or, they're more balanced. They're more mature in their Libra and their Taurus and their Aries and their Pisces and their Aquarius energy and their Virgo. They've learned lessons in life. They have grown up and matured themselves, tempered their more egoic nature to some degree. And we all have lessons to learn. You could have people more farther ahead on the path of life than you that are like, why are they still doing that? Again, at all these different stages of life that we're at, for example, like 18, 21, 25, 35, 45, we look at life differently. But again, once we all become maybe like 25 and people can be out in the world and have jobs and be in relationships, sometimes people can wear a very good false mask, and they present themselves like, oh no, I've learned these lessons in life. And that is kind of associated kind of with, well, I view it as a shadowy aspect of Libra, because Libra can be like this people pleaser type of energy. And if people in their own Libra energy, again, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they could be, in their own Libra nature of self, they could be people who are very much about kind of conforming to the world, shadowy Taurus. I want people to view me in a certain way and want people to be in friendship and relationship. So it is kind of wearing a false mask, maybe about maybe even being more inspired by truth and love, or being more stable or balanced or abundant in some way. They could try to present themselves as abundant in love, or in like knowledge and resourcefulness or money, and that can all be an illusion. That's shadowy energy. At high vibe, at the big picture, shadowy energy is represented by the devil. So it can be all trying to create this illusion, so that trying to manipulate, that's also shadowy energy, trying to manipulate people. And that can kind of be this shadowy clouds card, is trying to confuse people about the truth of who you are, present this image about the type of person they are, take action in the world like, yes, my truth is your truth. I'm motivated by what you're motivated by. If that will get you to quit investing in maybe what you could invest in, or other choices possibly, and take this job, be my friend, date me, marry me. But sadly, some of those people aren't who they say they are. And some people already quit investing in those people because they saw their dream wasn't going to come into reality with them. And some of them didn't have to necessarily be shadowy, but, you know, how we envision our life, all these things, I've kind of equated it to like a cookie mix. If your life was this cookie mix that you could mix up, and you had this recipe, there'd be these certain things that you could put work and effort and be inspired to put work and effort into having in your life, because those things are your idea of the wonderful cookie life recipe. But what some people want, and they could be just and fair and loving and encouraging people, theirs is completely different than yours. Big town, small town, in the country, have dogs, not dogs, do these kind of things and social activities, don't do those kind of things and those social, it's just trying to find people that we kind of have more of these things in common than we don't. And sometimes with some people, could we have thought some of those people were lovely people? Again, acquaintances, friends, family members, romantic interest people. Yeah, but our dream was different. And maybe, some people, this could represent people. Again, what's your idea of the dream life? Some people do want to maybe get married. Some people don't. Some people want to have kids. Some people don't. And sometimes at certain stages of our life, sometimes when people are younger, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. So we're kind of not maybe in the zero, age 18 to 35 range. Sometimes some people can feel, I don't know that I'm ready for that yet. And then it seems to be in this era that we're going through, once people have maybe gotten married and that didn't work, then other people who could be older also don't want to be in a more formal commitment anymore. And, it just depends, maybe listening to your intuition about what really is kind of more behind it, because kind of so much of what people are trying to get across in tarot is that what are people's intentions? Are some people, high vibe Aries would be a good leader in the world? That's represented by the Emperor. And the Emperor is a counterpart to the Empress. And are we balanced within ourselves that if we're going to try to present ourselves as like an emperor in the world, and we can all do that, male or female, if that's the truth of who we are, then internally, emotionally, we should be an empress. And the emperor and the empress in high vibe mean that people are balanced within themselves and they have learned a lot of lessons in their life. And particularly the one I like to point out, because they represent harnessing all four of the kings and all four of the queens. So therefore, it's equally valuing and appreciating in balance all four of these elements that we talk about in tarot: your heart, your mind, your 3D nature, your creative passion nature. But there's some people that are still tipped out of balance, where they're more balanced nature, maybe being willing to step out of their comfort zone with the stork card. Kind of that also, what does it say? I think it's arrow. It says Aries energy. To kind of step out of your comfort zone. The wealthy man can be like the King of Pentacles, and that can kind of be more caught up in the world, or about ourselves, or these things we want to indulge in. Might want to be in relationships, might want to get married. The King and Queen of Pentacles is the only marrieds through the deck. But in their Aries energy, what drives them, motivates them? Is it just to create the illusion in the Moon card, which is Pisces, and then the Garden card is Libra, just to create the illusion, look, I invested in something. Look, I've gotten justice in the world. Look, I must be a more just, fair, stable, grounded, mature person than maybe I was before. Because look what I created and got to work with some people, got a new job, got a new friend, got in a new relationship. And for some people, that is the whole point. Some people just get in a relationship with someone else to try to create the illusion that they're not the same person that they were before. But they could be exactly the same person they are. And it's just to try to create an illusion with the next person they get in a relationship with. Or it is all for the status and the ego and the image. And then we have the Ship card, which just is fire sign energy. And shadowy fire sign energy of Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. It's more inspired by the illusion. It's more inspired by the idea of looking like a shining star, or, victorious and successful, or to just be in a relationship with someone who doesn't know the truth of who they are, and to be in a relationship with them, so long as it's good for their ego or their image, maybe, for as long as it lasts, until that person kind of sees through the illusion. And then that'll come to an end, and they'll have to go find someone else to go invest in, male or female. But they really don't want to invest in the dream. Not the dream that high vibe Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, and all the signs, high vibe is supposed to be about truth and love, justice, fairness, treating other people the way you like to be treated, acting with character and integrity, being authentic. If it's a romantic relationship, it should be because inspired by love, not all these other factors. But for some people, in their free will, they're more about themselves. And they're not going to do love. They'll create the illusion of love and that they're motivated and inspired by love. But as people get in a relationship with them, over time, those people, the Empress wants to give birth to something new. Love gives birth to something new. But we human beings, we have free will. If we had all wanted to keep living life like a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old or whatever other age, and just said, no, I'm not going to do any of that. Nope, I'm just going to keep doing life the way I do it. No, my life's good. They can if they want. But if we're inspired to listen to our intuition, and if our dream is to kind of get the justice we deserve, which means the moon can also represent our fears, that I'm going to invest in being inspired to overcome all my fears that stop me from believing in myself and getting the justice I deserve to go to that next phase of life. I do have hope and faith and belief in my dreams, in my high vibe Aquarius, in my Libra, in my Aquarius, my Aries, my Leo, my Sagittarius. I am inspired to keep growing and healing and maturing myself. I don't want to be more manipulated by my immature nature, my lust, my greed, my pride, my ego, the world, other people in my life. High vibe energy is being independent. Knowing your own worth and value. At the end here we have the tree card, which is Virgo energy. High vibe Virgo is about our truth, and the tree can talk about kind of at the core foundational truth of who we are. Are we more aligned with, in our earth sign energy, more about ourself and the world? Or are we motivated and inspired to keep investing in growing and healing and maturing ourselves to kind of grow to our full potential? And, again, we all have different dreams and motivations and aspirations. Or some people are much more driven and motivated. And we're like, hey, different strokes for different folks. Are you probably going to have a lot more of things in the world to a degree that I'm going to have? Yeah. Good for you. I'm glad you enjoy that. Do I want to live life like you? No, that's not my truth. But if that's your truth, you go. And I'm going to do me, And mine, kind of Aquarius, is like the most unique zodiac sign. I Googled it once. It has the least amount of people that are born under Aquarius energy. But high vibe energy is about shining your authentic light in the world. You know what? I don't have a lot of things that other people could have. They're more talented, more smart, more whatever. But I have my things, and I can be inspired to invest in my things. And Virgo kind of talks about our own unique talent, skills, and interests. And we have our own unique talent, skills, and interests. I want to go find a job maybe where I could invest in those things that are aligned with my truth. I certainly maybe don't want to get in a job that I don't like, not wanting to invest in that, in my Virgo nature. But because of the status or the ego or the image, I'll do it. Again, some people have already done that. And it's like, oh my God, it was miserable. But I thought for sure maybe things would get better over time. But that is not my thing. That is not my knack. I should not be in this industry or in this job or in this career. I need to go get in what is more aligned with my truth. So I can enjoy my day. you know and some people are willing to sacrifice all those things. They'll be in a job they don't like, they'll be in relationships with people they don't even like, if the most important thing is that they look like they have a certain status or image or stability or security in their life. And there's some people, the devil can talk about, for some people enough is never enough. Some people had more than enough. Things could have been going great, but they could have had some fears. They maybe haven't learned to invest in themselves and kind of love and believe in themselves. So a shadowy energy can just be that you don't know your worth and value. It could be that maybe working with people who do seem more just or fair or stable and grounded, but that really isn't kind of the people that you're used to hanging out with to a degree. That's kind of out of your comfort zone, and that's like different, and that can be a little scary. And then that does put maybe more responsibility on us if we're the one who has more growing or maturing to do, than some of the other people to do that work. And some people in those situations did. We'll all keep repeating a certain pattern over and over until it's kind of like, why do I keep doing that? Now, let's go back to the expectation card. What is this card not showing itself? The star card, like the snowflake, is Aquarius energy. We would all like things at any stage of life we've been at, and any age of life we've been at. We would have really liked those things, and friendships and relationships worked out the way we wanted. But, we are these emotionally complex human beings dealing with other emotionally complex human beings. And some of those people maybe were kind of more immature, more full of themselves, had a different dream. Some of them kind of had these illusions that it should be more about them. Maybe a little might like more imbalanced relationships, hoped you didn't love and believe in yourself, and maybe with some of them at some of those times in your life you really didn't, and you could have been in more codependent energy. And there's people who like those kind of relationships. They don't really want you to invest in loving and believing in yourself. And I think learning to love and believe in yourself, that can take many decades of our life. And learning to stand up for ourselves. And, again, we have a dream. Other people have their idea of the dream life. And how much time am I going to take if I've already learned certain life experiences? If I go do that, that kind of drives my life in the ditch. Or if I do it not kind of more in moderation. So high vibe energy and Libra is about being more balanced. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Just do it in moderation and don't give some of those things that you make important in your life so important it kind of tips your life out of balance. Keep focused on the bigger picture. Keep focused on what you're trying to manifest out of a place of love for yourself to maintain balance within yourself, and be inspired within yourself to give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you, so you're not more codependent on other people, and to stand up for yourself. And so then once you've kind of learned those lessons, like, there's some things that I can be attracted to or would like to indulge in more, or people. But if I already know, just because you're attracted to something or enjoy something doesn't mean you should go invest time, energy, and effort into it. And so the way we could equate that is just that if you meet someone and they're kind of more immature or controlling or got some type of trait and characteristic that you already know, you don't care for that, well, then I'm not going to invest more in it. I'm not going to get myself more emotionally invested. Can we be a loving and encouraging person in other people's lives? Yes. But I'm not going to chase after people, and I'm not going to try to get other people to look at life differently, change their truth. I accept you have your truth. you live your life a certain way, act a certain way, behave a certain way, treat people a certain way, it kind of shows me your truth, and I'm not going to stay in denial of the truth, which is what I could have done at earlier phases of my life. And now, high vibe energy, the truth sets you free, being illuminated to the truth. I now, and also Libra energy is represented by the Two of Swords, which can be about kind of going back and forth and wanting to stay in two minds about the truth. Are they just and fair? Aren't they? Are they this or that, or aren't they? And it's like, if that was their truth, when I meet people and starting to get to know them, if it was their truth to act in a more just and fair way, a more emotionally mature, tempered, egoic, tempered in their ego nature, and that's not the truth, I accept the truth of it. And it's like, oh, that's too bad. I could have found you attractive or charming or cute, right? Or just wanted to be able to get along with you better in an environment. But apparently, some of those people, that's not going to happen. And you accept the truth of it because, learning those lessons of tempering your ego and working through your fears or your insecurities or your pride or your ego or your defensive nature, that can take years. So, maybe more investing your time as you kind of see the truth and accept the truth. And with this being like the King of Pentacles, when someone is holding the one pentacle in a high vibe energy, that would mean that they accept the truth and they have freed themselves from their more immature worldly nature. So can there be things and people or whatever that I could be attracted to and kind of want to go indulge myself in? Yes, but I also know I emotionally invest myself in people. And so why, and I'm, that's like Scorpio energy. And why would I, if I'm emotionally complex human being, why would I want to get and this is Scorpio over here. Why would I want to get myself more emotionally tangled up in something that I shouldn't get myself tangled up to begin with? So besides the people that we do meet, the people we have known, and seeing who is willing to work together with us, who isn't, we accept the truth and we get out of our ego about it, because we do have this ship of dreams that we're trying to bring into reality. And we need to be in relationships, and we can only bring that dream into reality with the people in our life and the people that we meet who are willing, who are inspired in their fire sign energy, kind of to put in work and effort to bring in that same dream. So if it's people in a workplace, who are the people more inspired to work together and want to also give birth to that dream and have learned these lessons in life, that listen more to their intuition, are more balanced, and work more cooperatively with people? People can be from all sorts of different walks of life. It's like, I don't care what you do, and you don't care what I do or how I live my life when I'm not here. But if we're both working here trying to bring a dream into reality and move things forward for all of us to get the justice that we want, hopefully we put all those things aside, and everybody's like mature enough to be able to get along together. Same way in communities or organizations or even in families, even in our own families. It's kind of, I think, the gift of having brothers and sisters and relatives. It's like just a little microcosm of the world, and there's all these diverse people in it. And hopefully when we go out in the world, we have more kind of compassion, hopefully, because hopefully we love the people in our family, even though they can be very different and live their life very different. But I love them. So then when I go out in the world and I could meet people who also live their life maybe very different than me, or just, how everybody's got their thing, unless some of you have immediate family that, or close family like that, that with absolutely everyone, you love them and they're like your best friend, you maybe can't relate. But with other people, it's kind of like they're just their own individual and like, yep, they like to go do this and this or act this way. And I kind of like to do this and act this way. I like doing these things. They like those things. They like, and it's just different. But can you love them? And it is kind of in a high vibe Virgo, respecting everybody as their own individual. You got free will. If you're happy, would I want to live your life the way you live it? No. Do you want to live life the way I live it? No. Neither one of us would be happy, like if we had to swap places, right? But if they're happy, hey, and if we feel some people are much more mature, it's like, you could think it's a little stuffy and boring, but hey, you like it, you do it. Other people, you could feel they're really kind of reckless and immature. It's like, hey, your life. It's kind of like there's these built-in consequences. Generally, kind of the justice card is what this talks about. If people have kind of generally certain traits and characteristics that are kind of shadowy, odds are you're not the only person in the world, but 50% of the people in the world, in a world of duality, to some degree, whatever in their Gemini dualistic nature, kind of more what drives and motivates them, probably 50% of the people are going to be more kind of on that same page to some degree. Maybe not as much, but as a general philosophy of life, they could agree with it. And for other people, and so when we quit investing in people that aren't investing in us, aren't being just and fair, aren't acting with character and integrity, get out of the friendships and relationships with people who are shadowy or just try to create an illusion and it's just more for their own self-interest. Your idea of the dream life was to work cooperatively. That's high vibe Capricorn. To work together cooperatively with people where you're your own individual, I'm my own individual. We all have our dreams, but we like each other or want to work together at this job. So everybody has to be willing to compromise, not wanting to be just more about themselves or shadowy. And some people don't get that, and eventually, kind of as time goes by, other people, if it's more of a mismatched situation, aren't going to want to invest in them. The people who are more about themselves, more about the world, more about things they indulge in, whatever it is that they make their life about, than acting more in a just and fair way, authentically, acting with character and integrity, are probably going to be in workplaces, friendships, and relationships with other people who are kind of on that same page. And that in itself is karma, And the people who are willing to kind of grow and mature themselves are going to get out of those jobs and friendships and relationships to go find people in the world that they think are more like them. And they will probably find them because they were inspired to listen to their intuition and not let their fear and insecurity keep them investing in this old pattern, hoping one day things will change. If people were motivated and inspired to change or be different or not that way, they would be that way already. But of course, we can stay in, and with some people, especially if it's family, it's kind of like we can always be in a loving energy towards them, but we might kind of keep their distance, from some people. But other people, how many people we can stay in an energy of love and encouragement towards everyone in the world, but the people I'm going to be inspired more to work with and move forward with are the people who have communicated the truth. Both the King of Pentacles and the Libra card could represent that, who have shown me and communicated that this is what they're motivated and inspired by. And while some people are doing that, shadowy people want to some of them try to create the illusion that that's their truth too. And they're trying to get people to, maybe get in friendship, relationship, work for them, invest in them, go into business with them, employ them. But then it's for those next people who those people get in a relationship with to see if they have grown or healed or matured themselves, or for them to see through the illusion. And if those people over time go on their journey with them and see, oh, you know, it's just like when you do work with people at work, just like people in friendship groups, initially you kind of might be caught up a little bit more in the superficial, you know, because we as human beings are. If people are attractive and charming and they present themselves in a way that seems like they're a stable, grounded, just, fair, loving, kind of fun person, you would be attracted to them. Well, and sometimes we can only do the best we can do. We don't take action. I would say people have learned not to take action more for the superficial reasons, to probably, I view this as Capricorn, and shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil. So it's like willing to get to know people and work together with people, but not to bring more of a dream into reality. Could I kind of view some of those people as someone like that I would definitely like to get to know more? Yeah, but we're just going to get to know each other to find out, more about them. And just like you could want to do that, other people who dealt with more shadowy people could want to do that. People could think other people are just and fair and think that they are people that they could think is someone who is on the same page as them. But, I'm not going to take more impulsive, reckless action. I might want to, but I'm not going to do that until I get to know them more, because I've done that before and it didn't turn out the way I wanted. I'm still listening to my intuition, getting to know people and willing to invest in people to get to know them more. But it's kind of like they stay in the friend zone like everyone else, if you're single and looking to get in a relationship, until I get to know more about what their truth is. And some of the people I might like, some people might like me, for example, but me or the other person is kind of like, and we got to get out of our ego about that. And other people need to get out of their ego about it. Nope, I just want to be your friend. I'm just a coworker. I'm just a neighborhood person. And, again, we might think, oh, I think we're on the same page, but they know their truth. Other people might look at us and like, oh, we're on the same page. And it's like, no, I kind of see you in your life. Could be a lovely, what is that magic kind of spark that makes us kind of be more interested in some people than other people? It's like this cosmic thing that nobody can really explain. Now, we could just take action out of, I'm attracted, less greed, whatever, but it's maybe not going to really last. Yeah, shadowy people, which can kind of be this shadowy Scorpio with a more shadowy Libra and Taurus and Aries. Some people, they can want to be in relationships with people or take a job at a business. But Scorpio is also represented by the Death card, where they really don't, they know their dream isn't the same as some of the people that they get in relationship with, but they try to confuse people about the truth of that, or even make up a lie, not telling the truth about why they don't want to move forward in a certain way. And again, they've done that with other people. Other people listened to their intuition and invested in, that's fine. You can have your truth, but if my intuition tells me that I don't think you're telling the truth, I'm going to listen to my intuition, because my intuition was given to me as a gift to help me navigate in this world. And I didn't used to listen to it maybe as much before, because I was more caught up in myself and thought I was so smart and that I could maybe change people. But I've learned the truth that I can't change people, and if people show me there's certain ways of being, I'm going to accept the truth of it, get out of my ego about it. And if my intuition tells me I think someone isn't telling the truth, or they are more immature or whatever, have these different ways of living life or viewing life, I'm going to listen to my intuition and I will detach from those people to go invest in my truth. If I don't stand up for myself and my dream and invest in my truth, that's really what other people are doing too. But there's some people in the world who want you to give up standing up for your truth. So they in turn also want you to change and make, it's one thing to compromise, but we have to be operating from the same foundational truth. If it's not more motivated and inspired by truth and love and kind of having each other's best interest at heart, then this can't move forward. And the people who are more motivated and inspired by truth and love, they do have other people's best interests at heart. But some of the more shadowy people, it's just more about how it benefits them. And they want you to quit standing up for your truth and let that go, maybe thinking because you don't love and believe in yourself or something, and settle for being tempted in your more worldly nature to be in a relationship that's more for these reasons of the world. And that can be really tempting because in our worldly nature, we're tempted by those things of the world. And we want, Taurus can talk about friendship and relationship, and we want those things. Those are some of the things as human beings we want to manifest. But for the people who've already kind of been there and done that, if people obviously show them that that is their philosophy of life, it's like, I can't do that. I've already been there. I can't. And that's a shadowy Taurus relationship. I can't indulge someone and compromise my truth and think that I'll be happy. If I'm motivated, high vibe Scorpio, I want deep, meaningful relationships. I'm not going to get in a more immature, superficial, whatever type of relationship, because with people who that isn't their truth. I need to get in relationships with other people who that's their truth. And if I keep investing in my truth, there's going to be other people in the world who see that I'm not doing that, and this is their truth also, and those are the people that I'm going to keep more investing in and getting to know. And then we'll see where that goes. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they don't see coming? The Nine of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Empress. Becoming the Nine of Pentacles in Virgo talks about knowing your worth and value and becoming independent of kind of like a prior version of yourself or a way of living life or viewing life that at one time you had that you thought was just and fair. And getting out of your ego, loving yourself, high vibe Empress, maintaining balance within yourself, investing in yourself, standing up for yourself, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, being inspired to let love and intuition guide you instead of making decisions more out of fear and insecurity and those other things. And so then you look very stable and abundant, whether you're male or female, emotionally. You seem like a very just, fair, stable, mature person. And you're looking to be in friendship and relationship with other people who are also that. More independent of their more immature, shadowy nature of whatever degree, from phases of living life that you've moved on from and become independent of. And some of the other relationships, you found out those people hadn't become independent of some of those ways of being and hadn't learned some of those lessons in life that you had learned, and you didn't want to repeat that pattern with someone. that obviously it became obvious they hadn't learned some of those lessons or lacked some hope and faith and belief in themselves, in others, or in love in high vibe Aquarius and high vibe Libra. So I think as you're moving forward, you're investing in your truth. And I think there could be other people that, if you're not already, you could have been in a relationship or a marriage or a workplace all this time of the story. And it's just the other people in life that you deal with, because there's always going to be shadowy people around. If you are single, when you quit, again, investing in people who aren't aligned with your truth, get out of your ego about the people who aren't investing in you, and you put in this work and effort to love and believe in yourself and keep acting in your truth, there's going to be other people who that you're going to meet. Again, some of them are going to be want to be the next shadowy person to be in a relationship with you and indulge in a relationship with you. You'll get to know them. You'll listen to your intuition. You'll move on from the more shadowy people, and the people who seem to be more less about themselves or less consumed with themselves or things they indulge in or make their life about seem more just, fair, balanced, independent, loving, single, are the people you'll get in a relationship with. And in the meantime, just that the people you surround yourself with are people who are kind of more on the same page as you. Being in a relationship with people who are just and fair and balanced and stable and loving and supportive and encouraging, versus people who before didn't want you to invest in your dreams and didn't want you to kind of get the justice you deserved, wanted you to either make it just more about them, or whatever manipulates them, let that manipulate you. And it was like, those things or those people don't manipulate me the way they manipulate you. So as long as that manipulates you, my dream can't come into reality with you. So I'm going to become independent of you, and I wish you peace. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming? Well, when we have some lessons to learn, the shadow card is like the devil. Our truth in our Virgo nature of ourself could be that in a shadowy chariot, that it is more about having a certain image or status in the world, because the chariot can talk about moving forward in a way that looks victorious and successful. And the devil, shadowy Capricorn, can be that their truth is they're more motivated and inspired by the world, to have a certain status image in the world, be more about themselves, either indulge someone to have those things or want someone to indulge them. And that's their reason why they get in relationships and they offer people things of the world, which can be, I'll have sex with you. Or they try to offer them, like, look how victorious or successful or charming or attractive I am. You should want to be in a relationship with me. But that's what they offer people, is more things of the world. But at any time where we're living our life at a certain stage of life, some people in that group are kind of going to maybe they've been wanting maybe things to change, wanting things to move forward. But other people in the group are still wanting to live their life this certain way. And the other people are kind of like, I'm kind of tired of doing it that way. And they got inspired to invest in loving themselves and getting more balance within themselves. They could have just done some inner work to heal from some past pain, some heartbreak, got over some things in their past, or wishing other people would change. And then the devil then can be to face their fears. And they do that work. And when you do that inner work to have victory from a place of love, because the chariot is Cancer energy, seeing the truth, I'm going to offer love to those things that try to block my path. How my own worldly nature, my own codependent, my own fearful, my own whatever nature, addictions or whatever it could be, I'm going to offer truth and love to those things so that I can have victory over them, to go get the justice I deserve. And then those people move on. So the more stubborn, the more prideful, the more full of themselves, the more caught up in the world or ego and image that some people are, it's like a completely different way of looking at life that some other people, they just don't get. What? They never do this inner work within themselves. The things that manipulate them keep manipulating them. And they could just be even really confused with kind of the clouds card and the moon card. How did those people do that? But because they operate more from their mind and their ego nature, it can all be where they, again, try to create this illusion about the type of person that they are. And they could see other people moving forward in life differently than them, but they don't understand it. And they don't know how to create that same illusion. But that's what they don't get. The people who heal and grow and mature themselves aren't creating an illusion. They did this work within themselves. When you work through things that manipulate you and kind of make peace with it, that's also kind of what Scorpio can talk about, and Libra. I've made peace with some issues from my past. Then those things don't manipulate you like that. It doesn't have a hold on you, the devil. And it sets you free to be able to go give birth to something new. And that's what they don't understand. What? People did inner work to kind of not just decide to go indulge in something to feel better or take action from their ego. They actually did this work within themselves to work through their fears or insecurities or self-limiting beliefs to, you have to get out of your ego. You have to humble yourself and you have to be willing to deal with the truth. You need to see some of these things that didn't work out. How did I contribute to those things not working out? Where did I need to heal and grow and mature myself? What about some of the people I was in relationship with? Well, I can always wish other people can change, but the only person I can change is me. I've offered maybe truth and love to other people, but if that's not what motivates and inspires them, then I'm going from a place of love, wish them peace, enjoy your life, but that's not my truth. And I'm going to go take action to pursue my dreams. Well, they go take action to pursue their idea of the dream life with whoever or whatever. And again, some of them are high vibe people. Some of them are shadowy. Just weren't on the same page, may never be on the same page. But some of the people who do think, male or female, that they have a certain look or charm or status or ego or image in the world could always be really surprised that other people who they could view as people who would have the ability to do that also if they wanted. If they wanted to go more manipulate people for their own prideful, ego, materialistic, selfish reasons, that they could probably go do that. But the high vibe people, that they have no interest in doing that. Some people had some people in their life that were people who were just and fair and authentic and loving and encouraging, and you could have had some people in your life at times that were like that. But because you or they, depending on the story and the viewpoint you're looking at, some people really didn't trust other people. Well, I think because you look this way or have this position or will have that position or have some type of success or image or whatever, I think you're more shadowy than basically didn't think you were who you said you were. Or didn't love and believe in themselves enough, kind of didn't appreciate what they brought to the table and why you wanted to be in a relationship with them. And they could have just thought, oh, I think, because you look this way or have this or that, that I think one day you'll leave me and you'll go get in a relationship with someone else. And so they kind of got caught up in their head and their fear and lacked some hope and faith. And maybe if they had communicated with some people and maybe just gotten to know them more and listen more to their intuition than their ego nature, some of those people let go of someone they could have, and you could have done that at times in your life, where they were people you could have had your dreams come into reality. But we can all have experienced that at times where we kind of felt like, "Ooh, I think that person's kind of out of my league," or I think that person is, kind of going places or is a kind of a person that I'm not. But, you know, regardless of even how driven and motivated some people could be, that's kind of been coming up in the readings lately for some reason. But say, some people who seem like much more type A personalities, like, yeah, I might be a little bit of a type A, but, if we had all the little alphabet characters going to the big A, again, the bulk of the people are in the middle. And then you have the people who are at the end, and you have the people that more at the other end. And, you could always think when you meet someone that, oh, yeah, no, we're kind of very different people. But, if they kind of wanted to maybe be in a relationship with someone, it's like sometimes people who are more outgoing don't really, uh, or say they're the life of a party person, don't really want to be in a relationship with someone who's the life of a party. I know I talked to someone, he's kind of the life of a party. And with the person that he married, we were I don't know how it came up, but he said, sometimes people would wonder maybe because his wife is much more calm and tempered, right? And he said people were surprised maybe that I would marry her because they view me like this big party guy. He's like, but I go out and do enough when I go out, if she is with me or not with me, that I certainly don't need to have someone else who also equally is on that same page, and we'd all be going out all the time, So it kind of is a balance and an offset. So just like some people who could enjoy like being more outgoing might not mind being around people who aren't as outgoing, a little more introverted and self-reflective, because being just more outgoing, it could be more for the fun of it, not really getting to know people to a degree. And with being with someone who's maybe more introspective, is like high vibe Virgo, they can enjoy that because it kind of offsets. I get to experience this in the world, but in my personal life, I have more of this kind of relationship, but it's not really the truth, maybe, of who they are to be in a more introverted or a more calm or tempered energy themselves, but it helps balance them out. And if their truth is the same, so someone who's a much more type A doesn't maybe want to be in a relationship with someone else who's much more type A because maybe their job or their career is really demanding. Well, if two people have very demanding jobs, how do you ever have any time together? So it's kind of, but so long as everybody's motivated by truth and love, respects everybody as their individual, and treats people in a just and fair way, it brings balance in their life. But I was going to say, some of the more defensive people or egoic people could be surprised that people who wouldn't, in their mind, like they don't temper their ego for people, that other people who maybe wouldn't have to if they wanted to abuse their gifts that they have. But the high vibe people never had an interest in abusing their gifts to begin with, which also could be something they don't understand. Well, you have this certain amount of money or status or image or attractiveness. Boy, if I had that, boy, I would use it. It's like, we know. And that's why people don't keep staying in friendship or relationship. And they could be confused. Why are other people maybe investing in people who they could feel don't have what they have? It's like because these people are just and fair and loving and very abundant in a more balanced way, might not have all the physique or all the looks or all the money or all the social clout or whatever. But, some people don't need it all. And some people need it all, want it all, or want it to be all about them. And of course, if they have a lot of those things, then they think people should want to be in a relationship with them. And other people are like, I am willing to sacrifice some of those things in the world and you in order to have justice in my life and balance and love. And for the people where love doesn't motivate them, they cannot understand that. And I think they'll ultimately be more surrounded, like we are at any stage of life, people who are on that same stage of life as we are. And then they could have people that come in their life that don't ever want them to heal or grow or mature themselves. They want them to keep living life the way they live it because those people don't want to heal or grow. You know, you're either willing in high vibe energy, again in the Empress, being inspired within yourself to keep working through things, to keep shedding old versions of yourself and kind of growing up and maturing yourself. And in relationship with people who encourage you to do that, want you to do it, they do it within themselves, so that you can keep going on this adventure in high vibe fire sign energy. Being inspired within yourself to keep looking at life as an adventure. Life is all about learning these lessons. I want and I'm inspired to. I feel proud of myself when I learn these lessons. I'm proud of myself when I free myself of my more immature ways of looking at life and work through my fears and insecurities. And if some people have not been standing up for themselves, the things and people in their life that kind of manipulate them, they could always want to give birth to something new. But if they don't realize where they need to change, humble themselves, it's just getting a new job, a new friend, a new relationship. They haven't changed and they don't see where they need to change. And we all got in these friendships or relationships because of some way we had of viewing life that we kind of thought was just and fair. And as long as we keep thinking that's just and fair and have that philosophy of life, we'll keep doing those same things, getting in those same kind of relationships until we invest in seeing what makes us do what we do and why we don't do other things. And again, it can be always waiting for other people to change. I can't change other people. I can be just, fair, loving, and encouraging to people, but they have to make that free will choice to change. And the people in my life who I would like to work together with them in this way, but that's not working, then I need to maintain balance within myself, keep investing in myself and my truth, and kind of letting go of that dream. Otherwise, holding on to that dream could keep me kind of stuck and stagnant. And that's why some people aren't investing in people. How about you stay stuck here feeling like your dream isn't going to come into reality while I go do this? But you wait there. You keep waiting for me to come back. Does that sound like somebody who loves you? No. And some of those people will also do that. They have people in their life that, well, if those people don't move forward, I'm not going to move forward. Those people are never moving forward. So it's like, I need to invest in loving myself, work through my own fears and insecurities and codependency. Those people are not codependent on my dream. My dream is not codependent on them. My dream is codependent on working with people who are on the same page at the same time as me. So I need to accept the truth, not let it keep me stuck, keep moving forward, investing in my truth. And I will meet other people who are more on that same page. And this process required me to love and believe in myself and know my worth and value, and to invest in bringing my dreams into reality and maybe just getting out of more codependent energy. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.